Chapter 1: The Garden of Wonders. The sun rose gently over Mindful Manor, its golden rays stretching across the dewy landscape. In Nikki's herb garden, the world was waking up with soft whispers. The lavender swayed gracefully in the breeze, and mint leaves glistened with tiny droplets of morning dew. Bees hummed as they began their daily dance among the flowers, and somewhere in the garden, a playful purr broke the stillness. Zenzi, the curious young cat, had found her way into the herb garden. Her soft gray fur shimmered in the sunlight, and her big green eyes sparkled with wonder. Today, the world felt like it held endless possibilities. "What's this place?" Zenzi whispered to herself, her tiny paws stepping cautiously onto the stone path. The air was filled with scents she didn't recognize, sweet, calming, and refreshing all at once. She sniffed the lavender and let out a delighted sneeze. "This garden smells like magic!" As Zenzi wandered deeper into the garden, she noticed a large patch of chamomile flowers. Butterflies flitted above them, their wings painted in vibrant hues. Zenzi crouched low, her tail twitching with excitement. She pounced playfully at the closest butterfly, only for it to glide effortlessly out of reach. "You won't catch them like that, dear," came a soothing voice. Zenzi looked up to see Mama Kitty, the wise, dark-colored tabby cat, perched calmly atop a flat rock near the rosemary bush. Her fur seemed to shimmer with wisdom, and her golden eyes twinkled kindly. Zenzi tilted her head. "How do you know, Mama Kitty?" "I'm quick. Watch this." Zenzi made another playful leap, her tiny paws swiping at the air. The butterfly floated away, unharmed, while Zenzi landed with a soft thud. Mama Kitty chuckled, her purr deep and warm. "Catching butterflies isn't about speed, little one. It's about understanding them. Watch how they move, feel the air, and most importantly," Mama Kitty paused, her voice softening, "enjoy the moment." Zenzi plopped onto the grass, her tail curling around her. "Enjoy the moment? How do I do that?" Mama Kitty patted closer, her movements as fluid as the breeze. "Close your eyes, Zenzi. Feel the sun on your fur, the earth beneath your paws. Listen to the sounds around you. That's how you enjoy the moment." Zenzi hesitated, but closed her eyes as instructed. At first, all she noticed was the warmth of the sun and the tickle of the grass. Then, as she took a deep breath, she heard the buzz of bees, the rustle of leaves, and the distant chirping of birds. A smile crept onto her face. "It's like the garden is singing," she said softly. Mama Kitty purred approvingly. "That's the magic of mindfulness, Zenzi. The garden always sings, but you have to be still enough to hear it." Before Zenzi could reply, another voice joined the conversation. "Mindfulness takes practice, young one," said Willow, the calm and reflective white-furred cat who appeared from the shadows of the mint patch. Her light blue eyes glowed with tranquility. "Would you like to learn?" Zenzi's ears perked up. "Yes. Teach me, Willow. What do I do next?" Willow settled beside Zenzi, her tail curling neatly over her paws. "Let's start with a simple mindful breath. Close your eyes again, and this time, focus on your breathing. Breathe in slowly, like you're smelling a fresh flower, and then breathe out, as if you're blowing on a dandelion to make a wish." Zenzi mimicked Willow's instructions, her tiny nose twitching as she took in the garden's rich, earthy scents. She exhaled softly, imagining little dandelion seeds floating away on the wind. Her body relaxed and her tail stopped twitching. "Good, Zenzi," Willow said, her voice like a lullaby. "That's mindfulness, being present in the moment." Zenzi opened her eyes and looked at her two friends. "I like this. It feels peaceful." Mama Kitty nodded. "Peaceful, playful, and curious. That's the way of the mindful meowers." As the three cats sat together in the heart of the garden, Zenzi felt a warm sense of belonging. The garden wasn't just a place to play, it was a place to learn, to grow, and to be still. And this was only the beginning of her journey. The sun climbed higher into the sky, casting a golden glow over the herb garden. Zenzi felt a newfound calm as she sat between Mama Kitty and Willow. Yet her curiosity bubbled up like a stream, eager to explore more of the garden's wonders. "What's that over there?" Zenzi asked, pointing her paw toward a bed of mint leaves. The plants shimmered like emeralds under the sunlight, their rounded leaves quivering slightly in the breeze. "That, little one, is mint," Mama Kitty explained, her voice as soothing as the garden itself. "It's refreshing, but it also teaches patience. Mint grows best when you care for it gently and give it time." "Patience?" Zenzi tilted her head. "I don't think I'm very good at that." Willow chuckled softly, her blue eyes sparkling. "Patience isn't about waiting, Zenzi. It's about what you do while you wait. Come, let's practice." Zenzi trotted eagerly toward the mint patch, her paws leaving tiny prints in the soft dirt. She leaned in to sniff the mint leaves, her whiskers twitching as the fresh, cool scent filled her nose. "It smells so yummy!" she exclaimed. Without thinking, she nibbled on a leaf. "Careful, Zenzi," Mama Kitty called gently. "Mint can be strong. Try savoring it slowly." Zenzi paused, her mouth full of the sharp, refreshing flavor. She chewed thoughtfully this time, her little tongue tingling. "It's like the garden is waking up inside my mouth," she said, giggling. Willow nodded. "Exactly, Zenzi. When you eat mindfully, you notice the flavors, the textures, and the way it makes you feel. Try taking one tiny nibble and see what you discover." Zenzi took another small bite, this time letting the leaf rest on her tongue for a moment before chewing. "It's sweet, but a little spicy too," she observed. "I never noticed that before." "That's the magic of mindfulness," Mama Kitty said. "When you slow down, even the simplest things can feel extraordinary." As Zenzi practiced savoring the mint, a buzzing sound caught her attention. She looked up to see a bumblebee hovering nearby, its fuzzy body dusted with golden pollen. Zenzi's instinct was to leap toward it, her tail twitching with excitement. "Zenzi," Willow said softly, "remember what we practiced. Pause and observe. Bees are friends of the garden. They're here to help." "But it's so close," Zenzi whispered, her body quivering with anticipation. "Try something," Mama Kitty suggested. "Instead of chasing the bee, sit still and watch it. See how it moves, feel its presence." Zenzi hesitated, her energy crackling like a spark, but she took a deep breath, just as Willow had taught her. Slowly, she lowered her body to the ground and focused on the bee. Its movements were graceful yet purposeful as it flitted from flower to flower, collecting nectar and spreading pollen. Zenzi watched in awe, her excitement giving way to quiet curiosity. "It's dancing," she said finally. "I never noticed how beautiful bees are." Mama Kitty purred. "That's the magic of being present, Zenzi. When we pause, we can see the beauty all around us." Zenzi sat up straighter, her little chest puffing with pride. "I didn't chase it. I watched, just like you said." Willow leaned down and touched her nose to Zenzi's. "You're learning quickly, little one. Mindfulness isn't about being perfect, it's about practicing. And every time you pause to notice something, you're practicing." Zenzi smiled, her tail curling around her paws. She felt a quiet joy in her chest, like the warm sunbeams that danced across the garden. For the first time, she understood what Mama Kitty and Willow meant about being present. The garden wasn't just a playground, it was a world full of tiny miracles waiting to be seen. "Can we explore more?" Zenzi asked, her voice filled with wonder. Mama Kitty chuckled. The garden has plenty of treasures to share, Zenzi, but remember, one moment at a time. As the three cats moved deeper into the herb garden, Zenzi felt her heart light and her mind calm. There was so much to see, to smell, and to learn, and she was ready for every moment. The herb garden seemed to stretch endlessly before Zenzi, each patch holding secrets she was eager to uncover. The sun was now warm against her fur, and the soft hum of garden life felt like a gentle melody accompanying her every step. She bounded ahead, her paws barely making a sound on the soft earth. "Where to next?" Zenzi called over her shoulder, her tail flicking with excitement. "Slow down, little one," Mama Kitty said with a knowing smile, ambling gracefully after her. "Sometimes the best treasures are found when you take your time." Zenzi stopped and turned to her friends. "But how will I find anything cool if I'm not looking everywhere?" Willow sat down, her white fur gleaming in the sunlight. "When you rush, Zenzi, you might miss what's right in front of you. Let's practice another mindful moment together." "But I've already practiced breathing and watching," Zenzi said, tilting her head. "What else is there?" "Listening," Willow replied. "Close your eyes and let your ears guide you. There's a whole symphony in the garden if you're still enough to hear it." Zenzi hesitated. She liked the idea of a symphony, but wasn't sure she could sit still long enough. Still, she flopped onto the grass and squeezed her eyes shut. "Okay, I'm ready," she announced. "Take a deep breath first," Mama Kitty instructed, her voice gentle but firm, "and then just listen." Zenzi obeyed, her ears swiveling as she tried to catch every sound. At first, she only heard the rustling of the leaves in the breeze. Then, as she relaxed, other sounds began to emerge. The faint buzz of a bee visiting flowers. The soft trickle of water from the fountain in the corner of the garden. The cheerful chirping of a sparrow perched in a nearby tree. "Wow," Zenzi whispered. "I never knew there were so many sounds." "What else do you hear?" Willow asked, her voice calm and steady. Zenzi's ears twitched as she focused harder. "I hear the wind moving through the mint leaves, and oh, there's a tiny crunching sound over there." She opened her eyes and followed the sound to a bush of rosemary. A small beetle was nibbling on the leaves, its shiny black body catching the sunlight. Zenzi stared in amazement. "Did you notice the beetle before?" Mama Kitty asked. Zenzi shook her head. "No, I was too busy running around. But now it's like the garden is alive everywhere." "It always was," Willow said, her blue eyes warm with approval. "You're just starting to notice." Zenzi leaned closer to the rosemary bush, careful not to disturb the beetle. "It's funny how something so small can make such a big sound if you really listen." Mama Kitty purred softly. "Everything in the garden has its place, Zenzi. Even the tiniest creatures are part of its balance." As Zenzi sat quietly, a butterfly fluttered by and landed on her nose. She froze, her green eyes wide with surprise. For a moment, she forgot to breathe. The butterfly's wings were a soft yellow with delicate black patterns, and it seemed to glow in the sunlight. "Hold still," Willow whispered. "Just enjoy the moment." Zenzi remained perfectly still, her little heart pounding with excitement. She could feel the butterfly's tiny feet against her fur, and its wings moved gently, like a whisper of wind. When the butterfly finally flew away, Zenzi let out a happy sigh. "That was amazing. I didn't have to chase it. It came to me." "That's the magic of being present," Mama Kitty said. "When you're still, the garden has a way of coming alive around you." Zenzi stood up, her tail swishing with joy. "I want to find more magic. What should we do next?" Mama Kitty glanced at Willow, a playful glint in her eyes. "How about a game of mindful hide and seek?" Zenzi's ears perked up. "How do you play that?" Willow smiled. We'll hide somewhere in the garden, and you'll have to find us by using all your senses. No running or pouncing, just listening, smelling, and observing. Do you think you're ready? Zenzi's whiskers twitched with excitement. I'll try. As Mama Kitty and Willow padded away to find hiding spots, Zenzi closed her eyes and took a deep breath. The garden seemed to hum with anticipation, and she felt a quiet confidence growing inside her. This wasn't just a game, it was another chance to discover the wonders of her world. Zenzi kept her eyes tightly shut, her ears twitching as she listened intently to the garden around her. The gentle rustle of leaves hinted at Mama Kitty's and Willow's movements, but the exact locations were still a mystery. I can do this, Zenzi whispered to herself, breathing deeply to steady her excitement. She decided to use the mindful skills she'd just learned to find her friends. First, she focused on her hearing. A faint swish reached her ears, soft, rhythmic, like a tail brushing against the lavender. That's probably Mama Kitty, Zenzi thought. Mama Kitty's movements were always graceful and measured. She slowly turned toward the sound, keeping her steps quiet on the soft garden soil. As Zenzi moved closer to the lavender, the warm, calming scent enveloped her. But just as she thought she was close enough, the sound stopped. She paused and crouched low, trying to hear anything else that might reveal Mama Kitty's hiding spot. Instead of moving closer immediately, Zenzi tried another tactic, her nose. She sniffed the air carefully. Among the floral sweetness, she caught a faint, earthy aroma, Mama Kitty's familiar scent. Zenzi grinned. Got you now, she whispered. Creeping closer, Zenzi finally spotted Mama Kitty nestled behind the lavender, her dark fur blending perfectly with the shadows. Mama Kitty's golden eyes sparkled with approval as Zenzi approached. Well done, little one, Mama Kitty said, stepping out of her hiding spot. You didn't rush, and you used your senses wisely. Zenzi's tail twitched with pride. I just did what you taught me, but now I have to find Willow. Mama Kitty nodded. Willow's a clever one. She'll test your patience. Zenzi scanned the garden, thinking about what she knew of Willow. The white-furred cat loved calm, quiet places, which made the shady rosemary bush a likely hiding spot. But as Zenzi approached, she found it empty. She tricked me, Zenzi muttered, glancing around for clues. She decided to sit down for a moment and practice her mindful breathing. Okay, Zenzi, she told herself. Stay calm and listen. Closing her eyes again, Zenzi inhaled the garden's fragrances and let the sounds fill her ears. A soft crunch caught her attention. It was faint, almost drowned out by the garden's hum, but it was there, steady and deliberate. Her ears swiveled toward the sound, and she opened her eyes. Across the garden, near the chamomile patch, she saw a flicker of white fur. Zenzi tiptoed toward it, careful not to make a sound. As she got closer, she realized Willow wasn't hiding in the chamomile but behind the tall mint plants next to it. Willow's fluffy tail poked out ever so slightly, swaying like a white feather in the breeze. Found you! Zenzi exclaimed, leaping forward with a playful bounce. Willow turned, her light blue eyes filled with gentle surprise. Impressive, Zenzi. You didn't rush, and you stayed observant. How did you find me? I heard you crunching the leaves, Zenzi said proudly, her nose twitching. And I smelled the mint near you. Willow smiled, her tail curling neatly around her paws. You're learning quickly. You're already more mindful than you realize. Mama Kitty joined them, her purr deep and content. You've done well, Zenzi. What did you learn from this game? Zenzi paused, thinking. I learned that I don't have to rush to find what I'm looking for. And when I use my senses, I can notice things I'd usually miss. Exactly, Willow said. Mindfulness isn't just about being still, It's about being aware. As the three cats sat together in the mint patch, the garden seemed to glow with life. Zenzi felt a deep happiness bubbling inside her. She wasn't just exploring the garden, she was discovering a new way to see the world. "What's next?" Zenzi asked, her green eyes shining with excitement. Mama Kitty chuckled. "The garden has many more lessons to share, little one. But for now, let's take a moment to rest and enjoy where we are." Zenzi stretched out on the soft grass, her ears twitching as she listened to the garden's melody. For once, she didn't feel the need to run or chase anything. She was perfectly content just to be. The morning had slipped into a golden afternoon, and the garden was alive with light and sound. Zenzi lay stretched on the warm grass, her paws tucked neatly under her as she watched a butterfly land gently on a lavender flower. For the first time, she felt no urge to leap or pounce. Instead, she simply watched, marveling at how delicate its wings looked in the sunlight. "This is nice," Zenzi murmured, her green eyes half closed in contentment. Mama Kitty sat beside her, grooming her dark fur with slow, deliberate licks. Mindfulness can feel like this, a quiet joy that comes from being right where you are. Willow lounged on a flat rock nearby, her white fur glowing in the sunlight. "And the more you practice, the more you'll notice things you've never seen before." Zenzi's ears perked up. "Like what?" "Well," Willow said, her voice soft and steady, "have you noticed how each plant in the garden has its own scent, its own texture?" Zenzi sat up, curious. She reached out to touch a sprig of rosemary. Its tiny, needle-like leaves felt firm and prickly under her paw. She sniffed it and let out a delighted sneeze. "It's so strong," she said, laughing. Willow chuckled. "That's rosemary for you, bold and earthy. Now try the chamomile." Zenzi padded over to the patch of tiny white flowers and leaned in to sniff. The scent was sweet and calming, like a soft hug. She closed her eyes and inhaled deeply. "It smells peaceful." "Exactly," Mama Kitty said, her golden eyes watching Zenzi fondly. "Every plant has something to teach us. Rosemary teaches us strength, chamomile shows us calm, and lavender, well, lavender teaches balance." Zenzi's gaze shifted to the lavender patch, where the tall purple flowers swayed gently in the breeze. "Balance," she echoed. Mama Kitty nodded. "Life is full of movement, little one, sometimes fast, sometimes slow. Lavender reminds us to find a balance between the two. Would you like to practice?" Zenzi nodded eagerly, her tail curling with excitement. "What do I do?" "Start by standing tall, like a lavender stalk," Willow instructed, rising gracefully to demonstrate. "Feel your paws rooted to the ground, and let your body sway gently, just like the flowers." Zenzi copied Willow, standing as tall as she could on her tiny paws. She closed her eyes and imagined herself as a lavender stalk, her body swaying lightly with the breeze. At first, it felt silly, but as she let herself relax, she began to feel steady and calm. "Good, Zenzi," Mama Kitty said. "Now breathe deeply, just like we practiced before, in and out." Zenzi inhaled the fragrant air, her small chest rising and falling in rhythm with her breath. The sounds of the garden seemed to melt into the background, and for a moment, she felt like she was part of the garden itself, rooted, swaying, and alive. When she opened her eyes, both Mama Kitty and Willow were smiling. "How do you feel?" Willow asked. Like I'm floating and standing at the same time," Zenzi said, her eyes wide with wonder. "Is that what balance feels like?" "Sometimes," Mama Kitty said, her voice warm. "Balance can feel different depending on where you are. The important thing is to stay present and notice." Zenzi looked around the garden, her heart swelling with a newfound appreciation for its beauty. "There's so much to learn here," she said softly. "There is," Willow agreed. "And the garden isn't just a place, it's a way of thinking. Wherever you go, you can carry the lessons of mindfulness with you." Zenzi smiled, her whiskers twitching with excitement. "Then I'm going to learn everything I can." The three cats sat together in a circle, the garden wrapping them in its warm embrace. Zenzi felt more connected than ever, not just to the garden, but to herself and her friends. For the first time, she understood what Mama Kitty meant when she said the garden was full of treasures. The real treasure wasn't something she could chase or catch, it was something she could feel. As the sun began to dip below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of pink and orange, Zenzi stretched and let out a happy sigh. This was the best day ever. "And it's only the beginning," Mama Kitty said, her voice like a purr on the wind. Zenzi looked up at the sky, the colors reflecting in her green eyes. She felt a quiet joy in her heart, a joy that came from simply being present. The garden had taught her its first lessons, and she couldn't wait to see what tomorrow would bring.